Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street, and this is my full review of the System76 Serval Workstation laptop. The System76 Serval Workstation is a high-end laptop manufactured by Clevo. It's designed to be a complete replacement for desktops. It even includes a desktop processor and the equivalent of a desktop graphics chip. It supports up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, and it has a large amount of expansion options. The Serval is the second highest end laptop sold by System76, coming in just before the Bonobo, but above the Oryx Pro. System76 ships all of their computers running Ubuntu Linux, but I replaced Ubuntu with Arch Linux running KDE. Because the software on my laptop is different from what you'll get out of the box, this review is going to focus on the hardware rather than the software. This is a very powerful computer with a sleek finish, but is it really worth all that money? And is it really worth it to put desktop parts in a laptop computer? Find out in this review. This laptop is a powerhouse. It's replacing my desktop, and one of the reasons why I got it, just so you have some background, is because I started going to college last semester, and so living in a dorm room, I was having to bring my computer from my house here to that dorm room and then back. And I didn't want to have two different computers that I'm working on because it's just too much work to try and sync files and keep things up to date on both computers. I'd rather just have one computer for both locations. Since I'm carrying it back and forth, actual desktops right out of the bat are not an option for me. I needed a laptop, but I needed a laptop that was great at video editing, and I needed a laptop that could do Blender animation, and I needed a laptop that could do what I needed it to do, something that would perform like a desktop in a laptop. And then on top of all of that, I needed a laptop that would work well with Linux. Enter System76. System76 is a company, they've been around for over 10 years. I'm not sure exactly what year they were founded. I heard about them through the Linux Action Show. And System76 makes computers that are specifically designed to run Linux. Now that is one of the reasons I purchased from System76. This is not the only reason. They sell really high-end laptops is the other big reason. I didn't buy this laptop just because it's from a company who sold laptops that have Ubuntu included. If I could have gotten a laptop this powerful from Lenovo, then I probably would have gone with a ThinkPad. But no ThinkPad today is as powerful as this laptop. No MacBook today is as powerful as any ThinkPad today, actually. The state of laptops is kind of getting sad. They're kind of getting lower and lower powered as people try and get more battery life out of them and things. And there is some market for creative work with laptops for mobile workstations, but the market's not huge. So this is the System76 Serval Workstation, like I said, and I've had it for a little while now. This video is going to be broken up into several parts. First, I'm going to be talking to you just about my experiences with the laptop. I'm going to go through the specs and just talk generally about what it's been like using it. Next, I'm going to take it into another room and I'm going to actually open it up and show you what's inside of it. Then I'm going to address some specific concerns I have about the laptop, some cons, if you will. And finally, I'll wrap the video up by talking a little bit about System76 as a company. Like I said, they specifically market toward Linux users. Lots of people hate System76, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you what I think about that. But first things first, the laptop. So this laptop, it has a full desktop processor in it. As I'm recording this video, by the way, I am rendering out raw, uncompressed H.264 video. That is a later part of the video that you're going to be watching. But just so you know, I don't know if you can hear the fans kicking up in the background, but I thought it would be fun to have something actually rendering back here, because this is the kind of thing that you can't just do with any old laptop. You know, rendering uncompressed, high-definition 1080p video is going to take way longer on other laptops than it would on this laptop. But I'll pull up the spec list here for a second. So this laptop has an Intel Core i7-6700K processor. It's got a base frequency of 4.0 GHz, and it overclocks up to 4.2 GHz with Intel Turbo Boost. So that's not manual overclocking that you do, but that is when you're using one core very harshly, when you're putting a lot of work on a single core of the processor, then it automatically clocks up to 4.2 GHz. Otherwise, it's usually running at 4 GHz. It does have Intel hyper-threading. It's a quad-core processor, so you actually get 8 virtual threads. And like I said, it's a desktop processor. It's an LGA 1150 socket. I think it's an 1150 socket. It's a desktop socket. You could take the processor out of this laptop and put it in a desktop. It's the exact same chip. Now that processor is really important for me because doing things like what I'm doing right now, rendering video, that uses the processor. Video rendering uses the processor, so the faster processor that my computer has, the faster my video is going to render. And like I said, this video, remaining time is about 25 minutes, and it's like a 28-minute video. So a 28-minute video takes about 28 minutes to render on this computer. It's almost real time, and that's really good. I know it's rendering uncompressed, and that's because I'm going to be combining it with other videos later, and I don't compress the video until the last time I render it. So compressing the video, it does take a little bit longer to render. But this laptop, it is very, very quick at rendering. It renders faster than my old desktop did. And that's something that I told myself I wanted. I said, Jacob, if you're going to spend the money on a new computer, it needs to be an upgrade over your old computer. You cannot blow a couple grand on a computer that's going to be a downgrade from my old one. So this laptop is beating my old desktop. My desktop with a water cooler and i7 processor. This laptop is faster than that. And like I said, 4 gigahertz, you can't get that in a ThinkPad. Most of the MacBook Pros don't even have i7 processors at all. This laptop, the processor is great. It's great to use. Videos render, like I said, faster than they did on my desktop. Animations render faster than they did on my desktop, although I've also started using the graphics card for that, and we'll get to the graphics card in this laptop a little bit later. The version of the laptop that I have is a 17-inch display. It's a 1080p display. The 15-inch version is also 1080p. Since I bought this, System76 has started selling 4K laptop displays. So if you go and get this laptop today, you'll have the option to get a 4K display. I did not have that option when I bought this. All that was available was 1080p. I'm not too concerned about that because Linux high DPI, it's there. It works. You can use high DPI displays with Linux. Similar to like EFI, it's a new technology. High DPI displays are a new technology that I just haven't gotten around to implementing in my own workflow. The pixel density is fine with a 1080p display. This is coming from someone who used to use a 27-inch 1440p display, so a 2K display. And yeah, I don't have to scale because when you have a 4K display and a 17-inch screen, you wouldn't be able to see anything unless you scale everything up anyway. And of course things are going to look sharper, but I can still fit plenty on my screen. Even without a 4K display, I can still fit plenty on the 1080p display. It just doesn't look quite as sharp. I still have plenty of working space though, and I was a little concerned about that, but the pixel density in this 17-inch 1080p display, I'll have to do the math and see if it actually matches up at all, but the pixel density on this actually isn't too far off from the pixel density on my old 1440p display. Things are a little bit bigger, but not a whole lot bigger. I do find myself running out of screen space sometimes, and I am going to be getting an adapter to hook up to my 1440p display soon. This laptop doesn't have any DVI or VGA ports on it, only HDMI and DisplayPort is all that's on it. And I'll go around all the ports later. But yeah, my 1440p display is DVI, so I'm gonna have to get an adapter for that, probably an active adapter. Haven't gotten around to doing that yet. I've been just fine with the built-in display. Yeah, like I said, I'd like a bigger display, but this is the biggest display you can get on a laptop. Apple stopped selling 17-inch MacBooks years ago. You can get a 17-inch ThinkPad. And by the way, those are the two things I'm comparing to this laptop as other high-end brands, you know. Yeah, I'd like a bigger display if possible, and I am going to try and connect an external display in the future, but I have been able to do my job with this. I've been able to make videos using this laptop. Yeah, the screen, you know, the viewer for the video that I'm editing is just a little smaller than I'm used to. And that's a trade-off you make when you go to a laptop. This laptop has an NVIDIA GTX 1080 graphics card in it. It's not actually so much a graphics card as it is a graphics chip. And it's not actually desktop graphics. So with the NVIDIA 900 series graphics cards, the GTX 900 series, there were 980M mobile graphics chips, and then there were also some laptops that were sold with just GTX 980 graphics chips. And laptops with a GTX 980 graphics chip in them, those laptops have the exact same chip as desktops have. Now with the GTX 10 series, NVIDIA dropped the M name from their graphics cards, and then they've stopped letting people put desktop cards in laptops. So it's not a 1080M graphics chip in here, it's just a GTX 1080, but that is not actually the same chip that you would get in a desktop 1080. I'm not sure why NVIDIA decided to do that. They claim that the mobile chips have caught up to the desktop chips, and that's why they renamed them so that the names actually match, but the laptop chips actually are slightly slower, and they do have slightly less CUDA processors in them than desktop cards have in them. So be aware of that. That's just something you have to deal with if you want a laptop once again. But as far as laptops go, GTX 1080, that is the best that you can get in a laptop. That's the best you can get, period. Even in a desktop today, the highest end graphics card you could get is a GTX 1080, other than like a Titan or something. Okay, so there are a couple of like super high end graphics cards, but in terms of actual, reasonable people who don't have a ton of money to spend on these things, GTX 1080 is top of the line, and this laptop has one of those in it. Graphics card is what the laptop uses when you're actually doing the editing of the video, so not while you're rendering, but while you're going through and making cuts and applying effects and overlaying titles and things. The graphics card has a huge impact on how quickly the interface is when you're doing that stuff. And I use Kdenlive as my video editor, and it is super fast on this laptop. It's faster than it was on my desktop once again. My desktop sometimes struggled to play uncompressed 1080p video in the video editor. Kdenlive on my desktop, if I try and play uncompressed 1080p video, it would stutter. And so I would always have to use compressed 1080p video. Now that might have to do with I/O speeds as well, which I'll get into, because theoretically uncompressed video should be less demanding on the processor. But yeah, as far as the graphics chip is concerned, video plays back super smoothly in the video editor. I'm able to preview effects better than I could on my desktop. Now it's not super butter smooth if I overlay 2 or 3 different effects over some video and I try and play it back in real time, in the preview window. It's going to stutter a little bit. It's not going to be completely smooth, but it is stuttering less than it was on my desktop. So this laptop definitely beats desktops from the last 4 or 5 years in that area. The graphics chip is also really useful for Blender animation. If you're not aware, over on the Nerd on the Street Creative channel, we've got a series called Displaced, and the first 2 seasons of that were machinimated, which means we acted them out in a video game. But for season 3 of that series, we're actually animating it in Blender. And I've been learning Blender for a few years now, just in my spare time. I'm nowhere near proficient in it, but I'm kind of bumbling along and still learning things as I'm starting work on the new season of our series. I find that I'm able to work in Blender more smoothly, especially with very complex scenes. If you go into Blender and you just place a couple of cubes down, you can do that on a low-end computer and it's going to work fine. But when you start getting into shapes with hundreds and hundreds of vertices, high polygon objects with a lot of different things going on, and then you've got lots of different objects in the scene, just rotating things and navigating around in the scene is going to be faster with a better graphics chip, and I have certainly found that the graphics chip is no throttle on this laptop when I'm in Blender. Another nice thing about Blender is I'm able to render using the graphics chip, which I do find to be slightly marginally faster than with the processor. Now the processor is already insanely fast, but I have gone and rendered the same scene using the processor and then the graphics card, and the graphics card has been like maybe a few seconds faster, but not like significantly faster than the processor. But I am able to, say, render video with the processor while I'm rendering an animation with the graphics chip, and then I can go to lunch while I have all of my things rendering. So it's still a benefit to be able to render using that GTX 1080 graphics chip. And yeah, even just previewing, sometimes I'm not even wanting to render a scene per se, but I'll switch the view in Blender to rendered view so that I can see what a texture looks like in a certain lighting, or so that I can play around with lighting, move things around, and see what textures look like in real time. Because normally in Blender you just see a gray surface, or you can also see like a color representation of what things will look like, but to actually see the texture, you need a good graphics chip to be able to preview things in real time, and this laptop is up to the task. I couldn't do that with my desktop. My desktop, I could render things in Blender, but I couldn't really turn it to rendered view and just move around in the scene and move things around and see what things look like. It obviously takes a couple seconds to re-render the viewport completely when I move something around in Blender in rendered view, but the initial preview that I get is almost immediate. So I am able to actually move things around and make small adjustments and almost immediately see what those adjustments are doing. See how this lighting looks as I move this lamp from left to right. Very, very handy. Moving on to memory, this laptop supports up to 64 gigabytes of dual-channel DDR4 RAM at 2400 megahertz. And that's pretty decent. It's not like the fastest RAM available today, but in terms of consumer level like, once again, in terms of what you're actually going to want to spend money on for cost effectiveness, 2400 megahertz is about as fast as you get. Now, I've personally got 16 gigabytes in my laptop. I ordered it with two 8 gigabyte sticks, and you'll see those later when I open the laptop up. There are 4 slots in the laptop, so in the future I can go and upgrade this to 32 gigabytes or 24 gigabytes or, you know, anything higher than my current 16 gigabytes. And I won't have to discard those old modules because there are 4 slots. So even though I've got 16 gigs of RAM in here, I've still got 2 slots empty. Similar to a desktop, most desktop motherboards have 4 slots of RAM in them. I have not had a big problem with running out of RAM. The closest thing was probably right after our Extra Life stream. I started trying to create several different projects with a 25-hour MP4 video in them at the same time. So Kdenlive was scanning this 25-hour video several different times within different processes, and then I was trying to do different edits with them all at once. And my 16 gigabytes of RAM, I got up pretty high in the usage there. But I have never run out of RAM on this thing. I don't have a swap partition in here. 16 gigs of RAM is fine for me right now, and I know on my desktop that had 16 gigs of RAM, the only time I ever really ran out was when I was making the Nerd on the Street 4-year and 3-year montages. 3-year was, I think, the first year when that montage, I make a montage of all the tech videos I've ever made every year, and about the 3rd year, kind of started stuffing up my computer with just how many different videos were being loaded into RAM in Kdenlive. And then the other time when my desktop ever choked up was when I was doing 4K video. Now, full disclaimer, I haven't tried doing 4K video on this laptop yet. I actually stopped doing 4K video for a completely separate reason a while ago. I've just figured the camera that I've got, it supports 4K video, and it was one of the first consumer level 4K video cameras available. When I got it, it was the cheapest 4K video camera available. I've gone back to shooting in 1080p. I went back to 1080p a while ago just because most people don't seem to have high resolution displays yet. Those who do don't always have the internet capability to stream 4K video, and when I have my camera on 4K mode, things are actually a little more grainy than on 1080p mode because the camera has to save more information, so it's having to compress more heavily. 1080p, there's plenty of bandwidth on the camera to save all of the color information from all the frames, so I find it to be just a clearer image. I might go back to 4K in the future. When I do, I fully expect it to work a little better on this laptop than it did on my desktop. My desktop could not edit 4K video really at a reasonable speed until I upgraded it with a water cooler. I was using the stock cooler that came with my processor up until I started editing 4K video, and that's when I upgraded to a water cooler when I started doing 4K video. However, like I said, this laptop is already shown to be faster than the desktop, even though the laptop only has 2 fans inside of it, which once again you'll see later when I open the laptop up, you'll see those fans. But yeah, I have not tried editing 4K video on here yet. If anyone out there is really interested in that, you can ask me about it at the forums at nerdonthestreet.com, and I'll throw something into the viewfinder just to, you know, scroll around and see how well Kdenlive works with 4K video on this laptop. But that wasn't an intentional thing. I didn't intentionally avoid 4K or anything. I just realized I don't do 4K video right now. Right now I've just been sticking to 1080p. As far as storage goes, this laptop has 2 M.2 slots and 2 SATA 3 slots. So there's room for 2 M.2 SSDs plus 2 2.5-inch spinning hard drives using SATA 3 at 6 gigabytes per second. The M.2 SSDs are obviously going to be faster. In my laptop in particular, I've got a 256 gigabyte PCIe M.2 SSD, and you can also get just regular M.2 SSDs that go over the M.2 SATA bus, but mine's PCIe. It is a little more expensive, it's faster read and write speeds. And then I've also got a 1 terabyte hard drive in mine, and the hard drive that is in it is an HGST hard drive, in case you're wondering. I show the brand of the SSD later in this video, but the hard drive brand I did not show later in the video, so that is the brand of the hard drive, is HGST, which statistically has the lowest hard drive failure rate out of any company making hard drives right now, so I'm happy with that. If you want a 7200 RPM hard drive from System76, you're going to have to go with a 1 terabyte hard drive max. If you get a 2 terabyte hard drive, it's only going to be 5400 RPM. I think I am planning on putting a 2 terabyte hard drive in here in the future for a total of 3 terabytes of storage, just because there's an empty slot in there, but for the time being, 1 terabyte is fine for me. Whenever things start getting full, I just back up to an external drive. You see I've got a drive toaster back there that I can put external hard drives in. I mean, they're internal hard drives, but I'm using them as external hard drives because they're in the drive toaster. So yeah, that's what I've got going on right now. I've got my operating system installed to the SSD, and I've got my home folder mounted on the hard drive. So programs and things load super fast because they're loading off of a PCIe SSD. The computer boots obviously very quickly because the OS is loading off of an SSD. But then my personal files are going to be stored on the hard drive. And my video files, which are huge, are going to be stored on the hard drive. Now, sometimes when I'm working on video files, I move them over to the SSD while I'm working on them, because the SSD has faster read and write speeds. So a lot of times I'll render out to the SSD so that I don't have to worry about my I/O throttling things while I'm rendering, especially in Blender. Blender automatically renders out to your /temp directory, and that directory in the setup I've got going on is on the SSD, so that's nice. Even just for Kdenlive though, I went ahead and made a folder at /working, just a folder on the root of my drive, and I gave myself permissions to it. And now I can copy videos over to that working folder. I can edit those videos in Kdenlive while they're in that folder on the SSD, and then once I'm done editing, I can render out to that folder on the SSD, and then once everything's done, rendering and editing and everything, I just move those files back over into my normal home directory, home/Jacob/videos/ whatever the video name is. And that way it's not perpetually taking up space on the SSD, but I can still take advantage of the SSD's speed. Looks like our render just finished there. Finished in 31 minutes and 13 seconds, once again for completely uncompressed H.264 video at 1080p 30 frames per second, and that was a 28-minute and 16-second video rendered in about 31 minutes. Very close to real time, very impressive. The last thing I have to talk about hardware-wise that I don't talk about later in this video is the webcam on here. System76 advertises this as a 1080p webcam, and when I'm in OBS, OBS recognizes the webcam as a 1080p webcam. I have a hard time believing that's a 1080p webcam. It is super grainy at 1080p. I've actually usually run it at 720p. Even then, it's not a great webcam. Now, I already had a Logitech C920 HD webcam, so that used to be Logitech's highest-end webcam. They released like the C921 or something just in the past couple of months. But yeah, I already had an external webcam, and I'm going to start using that with this laptop, but I have been using the webcam for live streams and things, especially away at college when I don't have all my equipment with me. And the webcam, it works. It looks alright. I would not want to record an entire Nerd on the Street video using this webcam. I wouldn't even want to do like a big primetime live stream using this webcam, you know, like Extra Life. I wouldn't want to do the Extra Life stream on this webcam. It's pretty grainy, colors are pretty washed out. Typical laptop webcam, basically nothing special. But it is decent enough for me to use every week for the Nerd on the Street Wednesday night midweek casual gaming stream at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, which I just realized it's 8:05 p.m. on a Wednesday. I'm supposed to be doing that stream right now, but I'm going to keep recording this video instead because I've really been neglecting the tech channel lately. So yeah, don't expect way too much from the webcam, just a word of warning. Not that you were buying a laptop for the webcam anyway. But yeah, if you've got an external webcam, you're going to want to plan to use that with this if you're doing any serious live streaming. So yeah, that's all of the hardware of the computer. I'm not sure what all else to talk about. Like I said, I primarily use this computer for video editing. I do some animation on it. I'm not a huge gamer, but if you are a huge gamer, then this laptop will also work very well for you because obviously gaming benefits from better graphics cards, so that GTX 1080, you're going to be able to run any game, like brand new games are going to run great on this thing. You'll be able to turn your settings way up high. Processor also matters, not as much as the graphics card, but obviously a better processor leads to a better gaming experience as well. And Clevo is a gaming laptop company. This laptop is technically, if you go and get it from any other company but System76, if you go and get it from Sager or Exotic PC or AVA Direct, it's classified as a gaming laptop. System76 happens to market it toward creative professionals because the same hardware that's good for gaming also happens to be good for creative things. But yeah, I don't game a whole lot, so I mean, it works well enough for Minecraft when I play Minecraft on it. I was using this for the Extra Life stream that we did in November. It was what I was personally playing my games on during Extra Life, and yeah, all the games loaded fine that we played during Extra Life. So yeah, that's everything about the hardware. Without further ado, I think I am going to give you a little bit closer of a look at the hardware of this laptop. We're going to take it into another room. I'm going to show you around what the outside of the laptop looks like, and then we're actually going to open it up and look at the inside. So here's the laptop, the System76 Serval workstation. And I did something similar to this in the original unboxing video, but I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to go around the computer and show you what the outside looks like from all angles. So this is the front that we have facing the camera right here. It is an angled front, so you can easily grab the laptop, pick it up by the front. As you can see, if I kind of turn it here, you can see that angle there. There's nothing on the front that you can interact with, really. No ports or anything. There are a couple of lights that you'll see turn on later when we turn the computer on. There's a battery indicator and then just a power indicator. Aside from that, the front is entirely clean. If we go over to, this is the left side of the computer if you're looking at it from the front. We do have some ports on this side here. We've got Ethernet here. We have a Thunderbolt port and a USB-C port, and then 2 USB 3 ports. So this computer does have a Thunderbolt port. I've told some people in the past that this computer only has a USB Type-C port, but it does also have a Thunderbolt port. The two look exactly the same, but yeah, they're actually slightly different on the inside. You should be able to plug any device into either of those ports. At least I know Thunderbolt is backwards compatible with USB Type-C. But yeah, if you're looking for a computer with Thunderbolt, this computer does have Thunderbolt as well. And then all the way to the front on the left side is an SD card reader. This is super helpful, super nice, because, you know, like the camera that I'm recording with right now, it's recording to an SD card. So I'll just be able to pop that card into here. I will not need a dongle or anything. Super nice to be able to just put that right in. You might be able to see that one of these USB 3.0 ports has a little battery icon on it. This port, I believe it charges external devices such as phones, even when the computer itself is turned off. Is what that icon means. We're going to turn this so you can see the back. So here's the back of the computer. You can see we've got fan grills on either side here. And then here we have some more ports. This is the power port right here. I would like it if the port itself was not round, because you have to put the plug in a certain way. You can see there's prongs in there. And you can only put the power cord in one direction. Those prongs are not evenly spaced. The bottom two prongs are slightly farther apart than the top two. Now you can feel on the power cord which side is supposed to go towards the bottom, because the power cord itself, the bottom of the cord of the plug is flat, where the rest of the cord is round. The rest of the plug is round, and the bottom of the plug is flat. So you can feel which side is supposed to go toward the bottom. I kind of wish they would make the actual outlet for that also have the bottom be flat, so that you can clearly see which side is supposed to go toward the bottom, but you know, that's not that big of a deal. Really, when all else fails, you just put the cord in and then just turn it until it goes into the slot. So yeah, that's the power port. Over here we have an HDMI output. We use this output during Extra Life to output a mirror of the screen image to a capture card. But you can also use that for an external display. And then we also have, and I've also used this to output to a TV several times. So that's very handy to have HDMI. And then there's 2 mini display ports. Now I don't have any devices that use mini display ports. I wish this computer had DVI on it, honestly, or VGA. I know VGA I don't need, but like a DVI with the analog option would be excellent to have, but that kind of a thing on a laptop, you don't really see DVI on laptops, so yeah, it is nice. You can connect 3 external displays at the same time with this thing, if you've got displays that use these newer digital ports. And then moving on to the right side of the computer here, if I tilt this up so you can see better, at the very back here we've got a Kensington lock port. Now you see Kensington lock ports on lots of devices, and you hear people say, oh, this device includes a Kensington lock port, but you don't really hear people actually describing what they do very often. So in case you're not familiar with what this does, this actually lets you physically lock your computer to your desk or to any other piece of furniture. I've got an example right here. This is an example of a Kensington lock. So how this works is you've got a little thing on the end of this lock here, and you can see right now this piece is at a 90-degree angle to the piece underneath it. So this will not go into the Kensington port right now. You have to put the correct combination into the lock here. So I just put my combination in here, and now that the correct combination has been entered into this lock, I can push this button to rotate this piece to match up with the piece underneath it. So once this piece is rotated, you can stick it into this Kensington lock port. Then you change the combination, roll the numbers around, and now if you push this button, it won't rotate that piece anymore. So there's a piece of metal inside the computer right now. And then this, you cannot remove this here. This is locked onto the computer. So then this end, this is a loop, so you're supposed to loop it through this into the piece here, and then you can tether the computer to a piece of furniture doing that, or to anything else. But then once you do put the combination in, I've just put the combination in, now you can push the button in. The button only pushes in when you have the combination, and then you can remove the lock. I just wanted to throw that in there because I didn't know what a Kensington lock actually was or how it worked for the longest time, but I actually did get one with this laptop. I went and got one just from Best Buy when I got this laptop, and I was using that at college even though nobody else was in my dorm room. In the event that I did have a roommate, I still had the laptop locked up, so like if someone had broken into my dorm room or something, that would have made it a little bit more difficult for them to take this computer away. So that's the Kensington lock port. We've got 2 more USB 3.0 ports. So a total of 4 USB 3.0 ports on this thing. That's great. That's less USB ports total than my desktop had, but it's more USB 3.0 ports, twice as many 3.0 ports than my desktop had. And I love USB 3.0. I use that for file transfer to external hard drives. I deal with a lot of video files, so that's important. And then here we have 4 audio jacks. Now, the second to the back here is the default audio output, the default headphone jack under Arch Linux that I'm using right now. And that's the only port out of these 4 that I've actually used so far. Actually, I think I've used the microphone jack, which I believe is the second from the front. But yeah, the second from the back is the one you want to plug headphones into by default, although I'm sure you can configure that under Linux. There you go. So yeah, that is the sides of the laptop. Now I've gone and gotten a blanket to put on this table because now we're going to turn the laptop over and look at the bottom. And I, of course, did not want to scratch the bottom of the laptop. So yeah, there we go. We'll bring our tripod in here, see if we cannot get a good angle. Alright, I think that's about as good as we're going to get in terms of an angle here. So this is what the bottom of a System76 Serval workstation looks like. I'll put the Clevo part number down in the comments, Clevo model number. I knew it. I had it memorized when I bought this computer. I said it in the unboxing video. I don't have it memorized anymore. But yeah, this is the bottom of the computer. You can see there are 4 sizable rubber feet there, and that keeps the laptop up off of the desk, of the table, of whatever you have this set on, so that if you, let's say you spill water next to your computer, it doesn't go on your computer, but it goes next to it. If the water goes underneath your computer, it won't actually touch any of the components because the rubber feet are keeping it up off of the table. So these are actually quite important. Down here in the bottom left, we have our battery, and to take the battery out, you first unlock this slider. Maybe you do it, all right. You unlock that slider first, and then this slider, all right. And then you take the battery out. So quite a small battery, rather small battery. And battery life on this laptop, when I'm doing simple things like web browsing, I can get a couple hours out of it. I haven't tried doing video editing or anything on battery power, just because I know that it's not going to last very long doing that if it only lasts a couple of hours doing simple tasks. This is not meant to be an on-the-go laptop. If you want an on-the-go laptop, you should look at some of System76's lower-end options like the Oryx Pro or like the Lemur, and they're going to have better battery life. But yeah, this is a tiny battery compared to the rest of the system. Apple fills up most of their computer with battery, and then the motherboard on an Apple computer is about this big, but System76 and Clevo, they do it the other way around, where they've got a big motherboard, lots of powerful components, but then tiny little battery here. So yeah, be warned, this is not supposed to be an on-the-go laptop. This is, I'm able to shut this laptop at college, put it into sleep mode, put it in my bag, and then take it home, plug it back in at home, and then open it up and pick up where I left off. And vice versa. I'm able to, let's say I'm editing a video at home, but then it's time to go back to college. I can shut the laptop, put it to sleep, take it back to college, plug it in, and open it up. And all of my things will be exactly where I left them because the laptop was in sleep mode. Unlike a desktop, I didn't have to close everything and shut it down completely. That's what this battery is really meant for. It's just like putting it into sleep mode, moving it from place to place, and then it's an extremely powerful machine when you have it place to place. So yeah, next up we are going to remove this panel here, and we're going to take a look at some of the internals of this machine just for fun. So I'm going to go and find a screwdriver. Alright, I've gone and found a package of some assorted screwdriver heads, and we're going to see if we can't get this laptop open. I have tried to open this one other time. This is not the first time I've tried recording this video, but last time I actually could not get the laptop open. I couldn't get the screws to unscrew. Alright, we're off to a bad start because right now I can't even get the screw heads out of the package here. Alright, here we go. Man, such a professional here at Nerd on the Street, guys. Alright, so we are going to try and unscrew these tiny little screws. Okay. Alright, good news, the screw is turning. I just didn't want to strip these screws in case I ever do need to open this laptop up for anything. So there's one tiny little screw out. These are really small. Smaller than standard computer screws. Gonna try and keep things generally where they're supposed to be. By the way, this is a subwoofer here. The 17-inch model of this laptop has a subwoofer in it. The 15-inch model does not have a subwoofer. Now, I actually usually use headphones with this laptop. The one time that I've not used headphones, the speakers on board were not very good at all. I'll just say the onboard speakers in this laptop, they were very tinny. Very tinny. Of course, that's kind of to be expected from a laptop. The built-in speakers on laptops aren't, you know, you're expected to use headphones, basically, just like here. With this kind of a laptop, you're expected to have power outlets available to you. All right, this screw is stripping here, so we don't want that to happen. Try a different head here. All right. So yeah, this laptop it's a Clevo laptop, like I said, and Clevo laptops are known to be pretty easily user serviceable. A lot more easily user serviceable than something like an Apple, you know, a MacBook. Like a unibody MacBook, you know, you can't open those things up at all. But even like a Dell computer or an HP computer, I performed repairs on HP computers before, HP laptops, and yeah, they're kind of a pain to get open. We've undid, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws so far on this System76 computer, and this thing's actually still warm from when I was using it just a little earlier, but let's see what we do to get this thing out. There's not really a good place to grip, is one thing about this. It sort of looks like a sliding mechanism. Sort of, but not really. Okay, well at this point, we're going to do what smart people do, and that means we're going to look it up. Alright, here we go. I'm on Clevo's website now. English user manual. Alright, well that's downloading awfully slowly because Clevo is a Taiwanese company. That's why you buy from System76 because they're right here in the United States. While that's downloading, we're going to go ahead and remove some more screws because I do intend to take this thing completely apart for you guys today. Not completely apart. We're not going to take this base plate off. We're going to leave like most of the laptop intact. But I do want to see what's underneath these panels that can come off more easily. So here, we're going to see if this smaller panel is easier to take off. I think it will be. I think this smaller panel is going to be easier to handle. So there's that screw, and then this one. So this smaller panel only has 2 screws. And this smaller panel, we'll see what else is underneath it other than the subwoofer. Now I do know 2 of the RAM slots are accessible from the bottom of this computer. 2 of the RAM slots you actually have to take the keyboard out and they're under the keyboard. And I think one of the M.2 slots is also underneath the keyboard while some of them are on the bottom of the computer here. Alright, I must really be missing something. Oh, alright, no, so this smaller panel just slides right off. Slides right off nice and easily. So this is what that bottom panel looks like, by the way, and here's the System76. I might have to actually take out the serial number or something, but yeah, System76 sticker. Model is Serval Workstation, and version is SER W10. 17-inch display, just a System76 sticker there, and then yeah, we've got FCC information, recycling information. You can see it says Clevo company, made in China. So yeah, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And then we've got a barcode sticker there. Now the bottom of this panel, bottom of this panel is silver, not painted. It doesn't need to be painted. Just the inside of a computer. And then yeah, this rubber pad here. Rubber pad here just fell off. Crap. I think that's where it was right there. And okay, be careful with this thing here because I'm not sure exactly where it came from. I think it was over the RAM for some reason. But yeah, we'll take a look in here. So here we've got RAM. Over here is our hard drive. So this laptop has a 256 gigabyte PCIe SSD in one of the M.2 slots, but then it also has a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive. This is I believe a Hitachi hard drive. I think it's Hitachi, if not HGST. Yeah, SATA hard drive. We're not going to take the hard drive out. I just wanted to show you guys. You can come in here and, you know, put a hard drive in yourself if you want to, or take it out. And then you can actually put a second hard drive in right here. This, you can see right here, it says HDD2. Hopefully you can see that. And so, yeah, I actually do plan eventually. What I want to do, this is a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM drive. You can get 2 terabyte drives, but they're 5200 RPM or 5400 RPM. So eventually I do want to add a 2 terabyte 5400 RPM drive because video files are really big and this thing's already getting kind of full. For the time being, whenever it gets full, I'll just offload, you know, empty the video files onto external hard drives. That's what I'm doing right now. It is working fine. But yeah, this is the reason you buy things from Clevo rather than from Apple, because Apple, there's no way you can open up an Apple laptop and add a hard drive. But yeah, this laptop, as powerful as it is, it even has room to grow. It's got an empty hard drive slot right here, and you saw how easy that was to get off. That was only 2 screws to slide that panel off, and now you can replace a hard drive if one dies. You can do it yourself rather than sending it in. Although System76 is happy to do it for you if you send it in. I would probably do it myself if it happened to me, just because I know how. And then yeah, in the future I do plan to add another hard drive here, and these are SATA 3 ports, I believe. There is a RAM stick here. No, that's not a RAM stick. That is funny. I thought this was a RAM stick. It's not. This is the SSD. It says right here, solid state drive. I'm gonna zoom in here. Right there. So yeah, it says here, boy, I zoom in and then I immediately move the computer. So yeah, that's where we're looking. Yeah, it says Toshiba, but also OCZ. And I love my OCZ Vertex SSD that I have in my desktop. So I'm a fan of OCZ. I don't know why it says Toshiba. I don't know if there's a connection between those two companies. I'll have to look into that. It's got looks like a QR code or something. Made in Philippines. But yeah, this is the 256 gigabyte SSD here. It looks very different from a desktop SSD, doesn't it? But yeah, this is a PCIe NVMe M.2 SSD. That's a lot of words. Basically, this is the fastest storage you can get in a computer right now. So yeah, there's that. It's screwed in there. I'm looking if there's anything underneath it. All right, so there's one of these rubber squares underneath this, the SSD. I guess supporting it or something. And there's probably one under the hard drive. So probably what this is in here for is if you want to go and add a second hard drive or something later, they include this for you, so you can stick it in there underneath your hard drive. So that's nice of them to do. And then I'd like to remind you, the extra mounting equipment, there's screws and some brackets in here. Here you can see there's screws and brackets holding the hard drive in place, and there's some foam there. They actually did include mounting hardware in the unboxing. If you go back and watch the unboxing, I've got extra screws and things in the empty box for this computer. It's got the spare mounting hardware. So yeah, System76 is completely okay if you open up your stuff. They're fine with that. One of the very, very few manufacturers who is fine with that. And then down here we've got our subwoofer. Not a very big subwoofer, but it's there. All right, so the last thing we have to do here is get this top part off so we can see the rest of the cool stuff in this computer. Since this bottom one was super easy to take off, I've got to think The top one must be easy to take off too. We must just be missing something. Okay, the only thing I've been able to confirm is that this panel should be sliding off. That's the only thing I've been able to figure out for my couple minutes of Googling. I'm going to pause the camera and I'll let you know when I get this. Alright, good news, I've figured it out. So, I'm not sure if you can see, well, you can't from that angle. Down here, yeah, now you can see them. These little notches here. So you are supposed to slide this cover partly off and then you lift it. So you, right now, this notch on the bottom of the case is lined up with one of the two notches on the panel. So you're supposed to slide it back until the other notch is lined up instead, like this. And you just have to apply a bit of force to it. And I think after I did it the first time, it loosened it up a little bit. So now you can see the second notch there is aligned instead of the first one. So now we can lift this whole bottom panel up. Here's what the underside of that looks like. Just a bunch of fan grills, sticker there, part information or something. So we'll set that off to the side. And here is what the inside of this computer looks like. So yeah, I'm glad we were finally able to do that. And I'm going to, let's see, tilt and zoom. And alright, so yeah, here's the inside of the computer. So there's writing on some of these. It says caution, high temperature part. Please hold the sticker. So it's telling you if you open this up like right after this computer was on, this is a heat sink. So you're not going to want to touch this. You're going to want to pull up on the sticker rather than actually pulling up on the metal itself if you just turned this computer off. This has been off for a little while now, so it's okay for me to touch now. So yeah, these are the two fans. This is a dual fan system. And like even Lenovo and their highest end ThinkPads just got around to doing two fans, so that's actually unusual. Most laptops only have one mechanical fan. These are two fans and they're both relatively large for laptop fans. Get a little bit of perspective there inside of the fans. So I'm not going to take this apart any more than this. I am going to look here. Okay, so they did, System76 put the two 8GB sticks of RAM that I ordered with this laptop, they put those under the keyboard. Like I said, two of the RAM slots are actually under the keyboard. It is possible to install them yourself, but it's a lot harder to do. You have to unscrew a few more screws underneath here, take the keyboard out of the top of the computer, and then you get access to the other M.2 slot, which I think is where the wireless card is, and you also get access to the other RAM modules. But yeah, they put my RAM under the keyboard, so in the future I do plan to go and, right now I've got two 8GB sticks of RAM for a total of 16 gigs. I do plan to eventually double that, get two more 8GB sticks and upgrade to 32 gigs. Because right now, you know, I'm not having an issue right now. Right now it's working perfectly fine for me with just 16 gigs. And that 16 gigs is what was in my desktop. But yeah, sometimes I'll have like 3 video projects open at once and I'll start running low and I'll have to go and close a couple of the ones that I'm not actively working on. And I can do that for now. But yeah, eventually I might just, you know, want to have the luxury of having more stuff open at the same time. So yeah, I can go right here. I won't have to take the keyboard out or anything. Thanks System76 for doing that, because yeah, I guess this is RAM slots 3 and 4, so it was designed for the first two to go onto the keyboard. And then yeah, you can see right there it says, I'm gonna turn this around so that the text is actually facing the camera. But yeah, you can see it says RAM 3 and RAM 4, and those are these two slots here, so that's great. And let's see, what else can I recognize under here? The graphics card, I think this is the graphics card. Now I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to take this apart any further. This is the, alright, so here's the processor. I recognize that, the processor mount underneath here. It's the same one that you have on desktops, where if I took these fans out of here, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, you can see this little piece of metal right here. That is the thing, that's the little lever that when you're installing a processor on a desktop, you have to push that lever down to lock the processor in. That is the lever right there. So this has a desktop processor in it. and I could replace it with another desktop processor. I could upgrade it. Not going to, because it's a super powerful processor right now. It's a 4 gigahertz processor. I don't remember the model number right off the top of my head. Like I said, it's been a few months since I bought this, and I did a bunch of research leading up to buying it. That's why I had everything memorized for the unboxing, but I've just been using the computer since I got it. So yeah, haven't had to put much thought into exactly what model of everything I'm using. I do know that the graphics chip is a GTX 1080 graphics card. Not actually the same exact one that you get in desktops, but it is supposedly desktop class. It's not called GTX 1080M or anything. It's just a 1080. But yeah, they actually did make changes to the 1070s and 1080s for the mobile version. Just not as much change as they used to make for the 980Ms and the 970Ms. That they had in the previous generation. But yeah, I think that this square right here is the graphics board, and I think if you were to get I'm drawing a blank on what this specification is called right now, but there's a specification for mobile graphics cards. It's not like common, but you can go on eBay and find offhand, like you can't just buy an upgraded mobile graphics card from NVIDIA, unfortunately, but you can go on eBay and find people selling them. And yeah, if I took this fan off, if I took the heat enclosure off, which I'm not going to do, then yeah, you could see, if you see this little bit of gold down here, that is where it's actually plugging into the rest of the motherboard, I think. That's where the graphics board is plugging into the rest of the motherboard. I think this is power up here if I had to guess. So yeah, this is the 1080, GTX 1080, and then this is the 4 gigahertz desktop processor underneath here. And then yeah, two fans sending all of that hot energy, the heat out. I guess it's just called heat. Sending all that heat out these fancy schmancy fan grills, and yeah, cooling the computer. So this is the inside of the computer. I wanted to open this up because I haven't even seen the inside of it yet until today. This is freaking awesome. See, like I like computers that like have a lot of cool stuff in them. Like I don't care if the outside is you know, a unibody aluminum enclosure like the MacBooks. I'd rather have it have a lot of cool parts inside that actually do what I need it to do. So yeah, I'm gonna slide this back on here. And if you have any questions, nobody's asked me. Well, some people have asked me questions about this laptop, and I've answered in the comments for most of those. In the unboxing. But yeah, if you have any other questions, any further questions about this computer, you can still ask over, you know, go to the forums at nerdonthestreet.com and just say, hey, I had a question about your System76 or your Clevo laptop. I don't get offended if you call it a Clevo laptop. I understand that's what it is. So if you're thinking about buying from another company like Sager or Exotic PC or AVA Direct, I can still answer questions actually, because it is the same enclosure and same motherboard on the laptop, although the specific parts in it, such as the hard drive and the M.2 drives, things like those might be different. I'm gonna put the screws back in here. Not quite as tight as they were when I started, because yeah, I know for a fact that in the lifetime of me owning this laptop, I will be opening it up again. Not in the very near future, but yeah, I will be opening it up again in the future. So yeah, I'm just gonna put these screws back in here to keep the laptop together, because you need your laptop to be in one piece. And then I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna open it up here and show you sort of what it looks like. Let's see. Just making sure that white square thing is okay. Yeah, this is holding the NVMe drive in place. So yeah, put that in there. Yeah, I've got like the highest end stuff right now. I normally don't have the highest end stuff, but I do in the case of this laptop, and it is definitely worth it if you're doing creative work, because when you're doing creative work, you don't want to have to worry about. Sorry, I'm getting in the way of the camera. Here when I'm putting stuff back in, but you know, yeah, when you're doing creative work, you don't want to have to worry about the computer's ability to do things. You just want to do things. All right, that's the laptop I'll put back together. Now we get to see if I put it back together correctly. So we're gonna flip this over. Let's see if I totally screwed up the, no, the System76 logo is all right, good. And by the way, I told some people in the comments of the other video that this was laser etched. Looking at this closer, the System76 logo is actually not laser etched. It is actually stickers, like people said. That said, like, they're nice stickers. I actually couldn't tell that they were stickers. I thought it was laser etched, you know, System76 logo. I would prefer they laser etched them. But yeah, like the fact that I didn't know. Normally you're not looking at this side of the computer anyway. And that's actually kind of nice, because laser etched stuff, it can sort of wear off if it gets scratched up a lot. And I don't anticipate the back of this topless laptop being scratched or anything. But yeah, the stickers will never wear or anything. And if they do come off, then I'll have an even cleaner looking laptop. So I don't actually mind that those are stickers. But yeah, I thought I'd throw that in there. I told people that that was laser etched logo on there. It's not. It actually is. Those are stickers there. They're probably applied by a machine so that they're, you know, perfectly aligned and everything, but stickers they are, yes. So now we're gonna back up our tripod here. There we go, that's a bit of a lower angle. So we're gonna come in here. Now we zoom in, all right. I'm narrating my video setting up of this frame here. Oh, and there we messed it all up. Good job, Jacob. Turn this around here. So here's what the front of the laptop looks like once again. We're going to open it up here. And that's what it looks like. Here, we'll do that again. Raise this up like so. Alright, so open the laptop up. And that is what it looks like. Got the nice point at the top of the display there. I've grown to like this design. When I got this laptop, I was kind of disappointed. You remember they changed the design of this, and I kind of thought I would like the old one better. But the new one is certainly a very nice design as well. Just a bit sharper. It's got more hard edges and hard corners and things, such as these little corners there. Just a bit less rounded overall than the old design. But yeah, this is the laptop. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and you can see how quickly Arch Linux boots. Now, I did turn this onto BIOS mode. I turned EFI off, and I appreciate System76's BIOS lets you do that. See, they've customized the BIOS here, and they let you turn off EFI. And I'm just... Linux support for EFI is getting better. It's better than it used to be. I'm just not used to EFI personally, so I didn't want to have to deal with it. I just turned it off. I put this laptop into BIOS mode. So you saw Grub there. You don't have Grub with EFI, I don't think. So here's SDDM, the KDE recommended display manager. So I've just typed my password in. You can see the backlighting of this keyboard here, and I can actually change the color of the light there. Oh, that's turning it on and off. Here's the key to change color. So now the backlight's blue, now it's green, lighter blue, like a turquoise, red, purple, white, yellow, sorry, now back to white. Very nice that you can change the color, and that is completely independent of the operating system. Like Linux doesn't have a driver or anything. That's just all in the. It's not like in the hardware because you can't do it during the BIOS. But yeah, by default when you power the computer on, I notice it always resets the color of the keyboard to white, and it always turns the backlight on even if you had it off. So if you're somebody who gets annoyed by little things, you might get annoyed by that. But I'm gonna type in my password there. So now I've got some things that auto start. Dithering on this display. When I installed Arch Linux and I installed X, now this was not an issue with Ubuntu, but when I installed Arch, for some reason every time I turn the computer on, dithering is disabled. And then if you have dithering disabled, then basically your screen can't have gradients. So it looks like you're using Windows 95 with an 8-bit color depth. So you need to have dithering enabled on this computer. Using this display needs dithering to be able to display like smooth gradients. For instance, the title bar is a smooth gradient in KDE. So I have to start up, for some reason, I've got dithering enabled in the NVIDIA settings, but it doesn't actually take effect unless I open up NVIDIA settings every time I turn the computer on. So I just added it to KDE's auto start. I have Telegram auto start. I've got a couple other things like Rocket Chat and OwnCloud or NextCloud. They auto start every time I turn the computer on. They just don't pop up. But yeah, this is what my desktop looks like. So I use KDE. I'm gonna go ahead and just for battery conservation, I'm gonna turn off the keyboard backlight there. I use KDE, Arch Linux, and KDE for my my desktop environment. I love KDE. I've made several videos about why I use it before. Everything I said in those videos about why I love it still hold true. KDE 5 is getting better and better with every update. I'm actually very excited. This is still using X. I'm using X instead of Wayland, but in the near future, I'm gonna try switching to Wayland actually, and I'll make a video about Wayland in the near future. You may have heard about Wayland and Mir replacing the X display server and display protocol. But yeah, this is KDE. So now you've gotten a very good look at the laptop. You've seen all around it, you know what it looks like from every angle, you've seen inside of it. Now as great as this laptop is, and as powerful as it is, and is as nicely designed as it is, there are a couple of downsides, a couple of bad things I have to say about it. And that's only natural for a review of any product. For one thing, something that I noticed basically right when I took the laptop out of the box, the keyboard. Now this keyboard is not horrible. I'm going to turn the backlighting on so you can see it a little bit better. This keyboard, it's not a bad keyboard. People said that System76 had really bad keyboards. It's actually not a horrible keyboard, but it could be better. It is a laptop keyboard. It's not my keyboard of choice. It's not a horrible keyboard, but it's just not, it clearly wasn't at the center of their design plan. And I think System76 does have the power to change this. There are a lot of things about this laptop that System76 can't even control since the laptop's manufactured by Clevo, but you know, System76, they've got their Ubuntu key on here, and this is a standard sized keyboard. This is a 15-inch keyboard on a 17-inch laptop. You'll get the same size keys whether you're on the 17 or 15-inch version of this laptop, and I think System76 could possibly put another keyboard in here. So let me tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a chiclet keyboard. The System76 Oryx Pro, which is the laptop below this one in the lineup, it has a chiclet keyboard, so I don't know why this laptop doesn't have a chiclet keyboard. Maybe it really is a limitation in what they can put in, but this laptop's keys, they're actually quite clicky. They're not really that, you know, you can hear me type. Hello, my name is Jacob. I've gotten very good at typing on this keyboard because I used it a lot. I'd really prefer a chiclet keyboard over a regular keyboard like this. And if you don't know what a chiclet keyboard is, if I pan my camera down here, this is the keyboard that I actually prefer to use with this. And this is the keyboard that I used with my desktop before I got this laptop. This is an Apple wired aluminum keyboard. I wish they came in black, but they just come in silver. Actually, I'm not even sure if Apple's selling these anymore because they recently redid their keyboards, but this is my favorite keyboard of all time. It's not a mechanical keyboard, but it feels sort of like a mechanical keyboard, and it's a chiclet keyboard. Now, a chiclet means that you see this space between the keys? There's material, there's metal in between the keys. It's not just blank space, but there is the same metal material that's over here runs between each and every one of these keys, and the keys are physically separated. That's a chiclet keyboard. And one nice thing about a chiclet keyboard, the keys are squared off, they've kind of got an edge to them, and it just feels really nice. It makes it easy to tell, you know, what the separation between keys is. This is the kind of keyboard I would prefer. If you don't know what a chiclet keyboard is, that is what a chiclet keyboard is, and this keyboard on the laptop, you can see it's just a regular old keyboard. It's just got space between the keys, which is why you can see the light coming up not only inside of the letters, but also between each and every one of the keys. You can see the light coming up because that's just blank space between all those keys. Another couple things about this keyboard, I really like that there's a number pad on this keyboard as well. A lot of people have been calling for System76 to stop selling laptops with number pads on the keyboards, especially since they're using a 15-inch keyboard on the 17-inch laptop. You know, if there's a little bit of space between the actual keys and the number pad, then a lot of people would be more happy, but some people don't even use this number pad at all, and of course, since the number pad is there, they have to move the trackpad over, and now that's off-center, which I actually don't like. But this is a laptop for professionals, and professionals need this number pad. There are applications that require the number pad, not just for entering numbers, but for navigating things and controlling things. So yeah, the number pad is essential for me. I'm glad they've got that. Whenever I want to move the say, the screen brightness up and down, I can't just click these keys. I have to hold down the function key to do that, and now you can see maybe that the screen brightness is being adjusted. Wow, that looks a lot better on camera, huh? Same with the volume. You can't see the volume indicator on the screen right now, but it's not actually on the screen right now. I'm just clicking F6 and F5 right now. That's doing nothing. I have to hold down the function key and click volume up and volume down. So you have to hold down the function key for a lot of things. Now that's actually nice in Linux because, you know, when I'm Control-Alt F2 tabbing into another virtual terminal, it's really a pain to have to hold down function in addition to Control and Alt. On this keyboard, the Apple keyboard, that's like the worst thing about this keyboard is the function key is way up here. So whenever my system freezes, which does happen from time to time, I have to hit Control, Alt, Function, and then one of the function keys up here. Oh, and you can see now my laptop just turned to a virtual terminal. With the laptop's built-in keyboard, since the function key is by default off, you can just Control Alt and hit the function key to switch. So that is a nice feature. It just does come with the trade-off that you can't move the volume up and down without holding the function key down. It would be really nice if the function key was like a toggle, similar to caps lock or numlock. Have the function key have a light that it's either on or off, so I can switch between the function keys and the media keys and all that. I don't know how hard that is to do though. So that's the keyboard. And one other thing about the keyboard, I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but I'm gonna zoom in here, and the keyboard actually is uneven. On the left side, the keys are like normal, and then as we get to the middle, you can see it especially around the top, the keys actually come up and they warp out of the keyboard area. They warp up towards like the screen. And it's not a problem when closing the laptop or anything, but it looks, you can tell when you're looking at it that the keys are popping up and it looks kind of strange. And you can see also there is some flex to this keyboard. If I click those keys that are warping up, down, kind of the whole keyboard goes down. Now as we move to the other side, the keys actually sink below where they're supposed to be. And when I was recording the unboxing video, I actually cut it out, but there actually was a point where I thought that the plus key might not work. I was trying to adjust, you know, if you hold down function, then the minus key turns down your backlight brightness and the plus key turns it up. The plus key was actually sticking. I had to pry the plus key up out of the keyboard initially because these keys on the right side just are sunk so low that it is difficult to get them stuck. And I'm not getting it stuck right now. But yeah, when I first got this, I had to break in the right side of the keyboard because the keys were so low it was difficult to actually get them to unpress. So yeah, the keyboard, not great. If you're someone who fears laptop keyboards, this is not going to be your ultimate writer's studio. You know, if you're someone who's writing a novel, you might want to look at like the Oryx Pro because it's got a chiclet keyboard which looks much nicer than this one. But if you're someone who's doing professional work, this keyboard is not going to crap out on you or anything. This keyboard is perfectly solid for doing most things. It's got a couple quirks to it is all. Now the second thing I wanted to talk about is the screen. Now once again, this is a laptop meant for professionals, and a lot of professionals do like color correction and things on their screens. Now you might be looking into like a ThinkPad or something, because ThinkPads have like built-in color correctors. Their high-end ones do for the screen. Built-in color calibrators, I think, is what they are. Now I've never bought into color fixing. I don't know what it's even really called. Some people, when they make videos, when they make YouTube videos or whatever kinds of videos, color correction, they quote-unquote correct the colors because the camera is not always capturing what things actually look like or what they want things to actually look like. So they go into their video editor and they color correct. Now, Kdenlive actually does have color correction as a feature, but I have never bought into that. I've always thought, you know, if you get your lighting set up properly, you make sure your camera settings are correct, you should be able to capture something close enough to what you want it to look like in your end product to where you shouldn't really need to color correct too much. And every time I played around with color correction, it's always been painfully obvious that I've been doing color correction, so I try to avoid it just because I don't really know what I'm doing too much with it, and I don't really buy into it anyway, which is, those two things kind of feed each other. But yeah, this laptop, the screen, I do want to warn you, I'm going to turn the screen brightness all the way up, again, because it's easier to see this when it's all the way up. Now, I've got an LCD repair tool here, and no stuck pixels or anything. Don't worry about that. All the pixels have been working fine, so, and I've also seen very little tearing with this screen, so that's very nice. My old 1440p screen, it's not an old 1440p screen, but the 1440p screen that I used with my laptop, that cheap Korean one that I did an unboxing for a few years ago, although it's not on the channel anymore. Yeah, that big 27-inch screen, that thing tore all the time, and this screen has a 75 Hz refresh rate. The laptop has NVIDIA G-Sync. You can see there's a sticker on the laptop that says NVIDIA G-Sync, and I do have the proprietary NVIDIA drivers installed, so I think G-Sync is doing its work. Otherwise, it's just the high refresh rate. I know on that huge 1440p screen, sometimes I could barely watch a YouTube video without tearing in the middle of the YouTube video. But this, I've had no issues with tearing on this laptop screen. Now one thing, here's what I'm gonna talk about. I just clicked a black button, so the entire screen right now is supposed to be black. Now, you can see up in the corners, it looks white. You might think that's because of my light, and actually the one up in this corner is. I'm gonna turn my light off. Alright, so there are now no lights in this room aside from the glowing of the keyboard there. I'll even turn the keyboard off. Although it's going to be difficult for me to find the light switch. Alright, so now it's completely dark in this room. All you're seeing is the screen. Now this is supposed to be black. This is supposed to be black. Now, for reference, I'm actually going to grab my tablet. Now I've got my tablet here. This is my Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 8.0. Great tablet. I love this tablet. I've done an unboxing on it and a review of it, a joint review of it, along with another tablet. So this tablet has a Super AMOLED screen in it, and what that means is that when there are black pixels displayed on the screen, the pixels actually aren't even receiving power. They're not taking up battery or anything. So I'm going to go to a website here on my tablet that's it's just supposed to bring a full black screen to the screen. You can see there's a white strip at the bottom for some reason. Just ignore the white strip at the bottom. That's really annoying. I wish that white strip wasn't there. That's alright though. You can see this tablet, I've got this black screen here, and you cannot tell where... Well, I'm in a completely dark room. There are no lights in here, and my camera's having a hard time focusing on this thing, because you can't see the screen at all. You don't know where the screen starts and ends. Look, this is where the screen ends, is up here. I'm going to focus the camera and hope that it doesn't auto-unfocus. So I'm going to turn the brightness all the way up on this tablet. Brightness is all the way up. You can't see where the screen ends after that notification bar rolls away, because there's no backlight bleed whatsoever. Now if you look at the computer screen behind us, this is a screen that's turned on right now. You can see there's a white strip being displayed at the bottom of the screen, but up here, because this pixel right here that I'm pointing to, you can't even see my finger because it's so dark in here. This pixel is black. There's no difference between that black pixel and just the black glass at the edge of this tablet. That is ideal for a screen. Now, I understand that this screen does not have a Super AMOLED display, so the black pixels in the middle of the screen, of course, they are not going to be completely black. They're sort of, you know, a dark gray in the very middle there. But here's my bigger problem. I'm not actually that concerned about the fact that here in the middle of the screen is not as pitch black as, like, my tablet's Super AMOLED display. My concern is, look, as you move up into the corner of the screen, you can definitely see that on the camera. As you move up into the corner, look at how white that gets. Look how light it is up here in the corner. That is not the camera playing tricks. That is not a glare off of anything. All of the lights in this room are turned off. That is called screen backlight bleed. Basically, modern displays, they don't just drive themselves. There's a white light behind all of the colors, and that white light makes the colors bright enough for you to see them. So when you're adjusting on a computer screen such as this, not on an AMOLED screen like a tablet, but on an LCD screen like this laptop has, when you're adjusting the screen brightness, you're not actually adjusting the brightness of the colors on your screen. The colors are always the same color, and then behind the layer of colors, there's a backlight. What you're adjusting is the brightness of that white, just solid white backlight behind all of the colors on your screen. So that's why even now that the screen is completely black, I can turn the screen brightness down, and it does get slightly more black as I turn the screen brightness down. So this is with the screen brightness all the way down. You can still see up in this top left corner, that's where it pops out the most to me, just to the human eye, is up in the top left corner. You can see how, look at how light that gets. The screen's supposed to be completely black. There's a lot of backlight bleed up here. Now down here you can see this, you can definitely see it with your eye. It's coming out more than the top one on the camera, but the bottom left you can also see there's some bleeding. I'm going to turn up our brightness here. That's volume. Here we go. Like I said, it's dark in here. I'm turning us to about halfway here. And yeah, so you can see, Lots of backlight bleed up here in the top left, lots of backlight bleed down here in the bottom left, although not as much to the eye. The top left is the worst to the human eye. Camera's picking up the bottom left more. Over here on the bottom right, camera's picking that one up more as well, but as I move behind the camera, yeah, from this angle I can see a little bit of backlight bleed down here. And then there's some not quite up in this corner. The top right corner is pretty actually clear, but right about here is where I can see with my own eye just this screen is supposed to be one solid color right now, and the colors are different in different parts of the screen because there's so much backlight bleed, and that usually means that the display was put together wrong or sloppily. I know that when I was researching this sort of thing, because I had a little bit of this going on with my cheap Korean 1440p monitor that I had gotten years ago, and I had researched this kind of problem, and people say if you actually open up the screen, what you can do is you can take a piece of sticky tape, just a piece of Scotch tape or electrical tape, and you can tape the backlight pressed up against the LCD panel itself. I don't remember exactly what procedure it is, but there is a way to physically modify it to fix it. So this is not like a problem with the parts that this would have to be completely replaced to fix. This was put together improperly, is why this is happening. Either the backlight and the display, the rest of it, are like separated, or they are pushed together too far. It could be either of those things. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this subject anymore. Wasn't an expert before either, but it's been a while since I've researched it. But yeah, if you are a video editor like me, I mean, like I said, I don't buy into color correction, so I don't have a full screen video preview playing normally when I'm making YouTube videos. When I'm making YouTube videos, I usually have a box right around here that's got the video in it, and most of that area is color accurate. It kind of cuts into the lighter area up here a little bit, but most of the area that I actually view the video in is color accurate. But if you're a photographer and you're going to be like doing full screen GIMP editing or Krita or whatever program you use to edit your photos that's not Photoshop, because Photoshop's not available for Linux. But whether it's GIMP or Krita or anything else, if you are a photographer, I could really see this screen backlighting being an issue. Like I said, not an issue for me. I'm not, you know, I haven't contacted System76 about this problem because it's actually not a huge problem for me. When I am watching full screen videos, though, every now and then I do watch a full screen video. I watch like full screen Netflix sometimes, or just full screen YouTube videos on some channels, and when it's like when I'm watching a computer video, I don't really care if there's a little bit of black up in the top left, but sometimes when I'm watching a cinematic production and then like the screen goes black for dramatic effect, then I can clearly see that the screen's not entirely black. And I've actually like thought before, I've had to think for a microsecond or two, hang on, is there supposed to be something I'm looking up here too? Am I supposed to be seeing something in the video up here? Oh no, that's just my screen being crappy. That's not actually the video that's making it lighter in the corners. I've actually thought like, oh, I must be looking through the view of somebody who's blacked out because I can see light in the corners of the screen, but it's actually not part of the video, it's just part of the screen. So that is something I wanted to draw attention to. I'm going to turn my lights back on now. Getting a little spooky in here with the lights turned off, but yeah, it would not have been fair of me at all to not draw some attention to that. System76, I would seriously get that looked into, because like I said, it doesn't kill the display for me, but there are a lot of professionals out there who that would entirely kill this laptop as an option for, because ThinkPads, I mean, that kind of thing would be unacceptable on a ThinkPad. It's only because this is a Clevo laptop that passed quality inspection. Just like the only reason that a keyboard that kind of shifts up and down is here is because it's a Clevo laptop, and like I said, these things are all raw power, but Clevo doesn't, Apple spends a lot of time being like, all right, what angle do we want our aluminum corners to be cut at, right? Clevo's just like, we know what is inside of the computer, but they really don't give a lot of attention to the outside of the computer. And to go along with that, finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the build quality of this laptop. Now, the laptop is plastic. I talked about that in the unboxing. The laptop is plastic. This is all plastic. I don't mind that. You know what? Plastic's lighter anyway, and I would not drop this laptop if I were you, just because it's so heavy, and this is not like ThinkPad plastic. ThinkPads are made out of plastic, but you can drop those things off of a 10-foot ladder and the ThinkPad just gets a little chip and it's still fine. If I dropped this off of a 5-foot ladder, I would fully expect for it to completely fall apart. Just throwing it out there. Now, you can see it's on a very solid desk right now, and I do not use it when it's not on a solid desk. I mean, I've used it on my lap a few times. I have used it on my lap a few times, but I'm not like, when I'm transporting this, I'm being careful with it. And that's just something you naturally do with a $2,000 to $3,000 computer such as this one. You're not going to be throwing this thing around. You're going to be being a little careful with an investment this big. So it's not that huge of a deal that it's relatively breakable plastic that they're using. Yeah, it's just because the laptop's so thick, I just can't help but feel that if I were to drop this laptop when it's not in a bag, like I always carry this thing in a bag, I would never carry this a long distance without a bag, but if I was, and you drop it on a hard surface especially, but even on carpet, like I could see dropping this thing sideways on carpet, and I could see like pieces of the base coming apart, not necessarily breaking, but just like coming apart, just from the weight of the stuff inside of it and the angle that it's falling, even if it was falling on a soft surface such as carpet. That's the kind of build quality this gives off. Now when it's on a surface, when I'm not moving it around, like this thing's solid. I'm trying to kind of shake it right now, and it's shaking my whole desk because it's heavy enough, those rubber feet weigh it down. This thing doesn't move around if you don't want it to move around. And when I'm resting my wrists here, there's no flex in the wrist rest. There's more flex in the keyboard itself than the wrist rests and all of that. So very solid. Like it's like a fragile brick. It's solid as a brick in terms of it doesn't move around unless you move it, but then it's not indestructible like a brick. I mean, if you drop a brick onto concrete, it could break too. Sort of like that. Now, one thing that's happened so far with this laptop, and this is me being clumsy, I've started noticing that I'm becoming more clumsy recently, and it's kind of been bugging me, but I've got my phone here. This is a OnePlus 2. I love this phone. Aside from, GPS is not as good on this phone as, well, actually, it is better than my old G2. The GPS is the only thing that could be improved on this phone. Everything else on this phone is perfect, OnePlus 2. But you can see it's got carbon fiber back, so this is, no, it's not carbon fiber, actually. This is a Kevlar back, because it's bulletproof. This is not carbon fiber. It looks like carbon fiber, it's actually Kevlar. But it's got this metal band around the edges. And this metal band looks really nice, and it feels really nice when I'm holding this phone in my hand, really solid phone. One day, I went to take my phone out of my pocket, and I pulled it up out of my pocket. The laptop was on the desk, which was at pocket level. This was at my dorm room. Pulled the phone out of my pocket, and the phone slipped out of my hand as I was bringing it up to my head, and it fell here on the keyboard. And when it fell on the keyboard, it kind of bounced up and hit this piece back here. And so if I zoom in up here, you can very clearly see right there. Wow, there's no way we're gonna focus, are we? Alright, there we go. See this little nick here? Yeah. That little nick is from my phone. It must have been the corner of the phone, I guess. But yeah, the phone just kind of hit that, and then now this thing has a nick. Now, if I run my hand over this, I've got my eyes closed right now, and I can't tell where the nick actually is. Alright, maybe a little bit. But it's more that I can feel the paint chipped off than I can feel an actual dent in here. But this thing here, I thought this was metal. I actually did. If you look at pictures, the rest of this, you can tell is plastic. The speaker grills are metal. And then I thought that this silver piece in the middle here was metal. Wonder if I can get a better shot of this here. If we zoom in. Boy, I wish I had better lighting in here. I really do. I'm gonna turn on, how about a flashlight? That helps a little bit. So you can see the metal texture going up and down on this thing. And it looks so solid, except for the little chipped paint thing. And it would almost look better if it was real metal and it had just gotten dented. Then it'd be like, oh, your laptop got dented. But yeah, it's just a little piece of the paint. It's not even so much a chip as a scratch, but it's in the shape of a chip, and then it's got a tiny little dent in the plastic there. Now, there's nothing under this. I can feel, I can push down, I can feel this is hollow underneath. I'm fairly certain... Actually, if I put my hand back... Yeah, no, this piece just has nothing on the other side, actually. So yeah, this doesn't actually harm the laptop. The laptop is not working any less good because of that. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know, this thing's not a MacBook and it's not a ThinkPad. Those are my two paragons. You know, I really love ThinkPads. I found out. I think that ThinkPads are a great standard for durability and also functionality and also looking pretty darn nice considering how functional and durable they are. Recent MacBooks just suck because of their internals. But MacBooks look really nice, such as my, just like my Apple keyboard here, it's aluminum, and MacBooks are also aluminum. ThinkPads are a counterexample, though. ThinkPads are plastic, and they're still super durable, and they still look really nice. They still have chiclet keyboards. ThinkPads have chiclet keyboards. And if I dropped my phone on my ThinkPad, I mean, there's nowhere on a ThinkPad that's even painted. Like, I wish they wouldn't have put a fake metal texture over that, because it would have looked better if there was just a plain gray piece of plastic there. You really can't see very well on the camera, but there is like a fake metal. If you look at it from just the right angle, there is a fake metal just texture to it. It's like a wallpaper, but like a plastic wallpaper. It's really hard to explain. I don't know if you can see it or not. I am looking at my tiny camera viewfinder, so maybe you can see it, and the screen I'm looking at is just too low resolution for me to tell that you can see it. But I wanted to bring that up. This laptop is not durable. It is meant to be used carefully, and I would expect the higher-end Bonobo to also be like that, because it's also plastic. It would be nice if Clevo made these laptops with metal. Like, if they made these out of metal. I know the Oryx Pro, which Clevo makes, and System76 sells, the Oryx is metal. Like, it's got a full metal body, as far as I know. And yeah, it's not even... Most of this plastic looks just fine. It's just this one dumb, fake metal piece. It's the fake metal that looks worse than the plastic itself. I won't spend any more time on that because I'm really not articulating that very well. But yeah, those are the three downsides to this laptop. The keyboard is... It's not a bad keyboard. It's really not a bad keyboard. The keyboard in the loaner laptop I was using before this was a much worse keyboard than this. But it's not a ThinkPad keyboard. The new MacBook keyboards are just a joke. I use an old Apple keyboard. The new Apple keyboards have like a millimeter of key travel. I would not use... This is 10 times better than if you go out and get a 2016 MacBook. The 2016 MacBook keyboard is going to be way worse than this. But if you go out and get a ThinkPad, man, ThinkPad keyboards are beautiful. And I think even if you get an Oryx Pro laptop, just judging by the pictures, just the fact that they're chiclet keyboards, I think an Oryx Pro's keyboard is going to be better quality than this keyboard. So that's number one. Number two is the screen backlighting. That's a serious issue for artists. I'm not an artist per se. Yeah, I'm not a visual artist. But yeah, the screen backlighting is a pretty serious thing. And then number three, the laptop is plastic, and I tell people that I'm okay with the fact that it's plastic, but at the end of the day, I would pick a metal laptop over a plastic laptop if I could get all the same internals. Now, I think that considering the internals this thing has, I'll gladly take a slightly lesser keyboard, a plastic body, and a questionable display to get a 4 GHz desktop processor and a GTX 1080 in a laptop. I'll make that trade-off, but some people won't, and it would be really great if we didn't have to make the trade-off at all. If we could get a 4 GHz desktop processor and a GTX 1080 inside of a metal laptop with a chiclet keyboard and a perfect display, there would be absolutely no reason for Mac haters to not switch to Linux. There'd be no reason for Windows users to not want this laptop if you could just take care of those things. But I know that those aren't all System76 things. Those are partially on Clevo as well. So yeah. Alright, now before we go today, I would like to say a few words about System76 as a company. I got quite a few responses on my unboxing video for this laptop talking about how System76 is a Clevo reseller in terms of their laptops. Their desktops are custom built, but their laptops, just like I personally cannot make a laptop, I don't have, they don't sell empty laptop cases at Micro Center that I can go pick up, and they don't sell laptop motherboards that you can just buy and laptop graphics cards and things like that. System76 is a very small company, and they do not have the resources to actually build their own laptops. This laptop was not made in a System76 factory. It was assembled at System76 in Denver, Colorado. The RAM, the hard drive, that kind of thing was put into this computer at System76, but the actual case of the computer, the plastic outer casing, as well as the motherboard and the cooling system and all of that, that was assembled by Clevo, and I believe Clevo is a Taiwanese company, if not just Chinese. I think they're a Taiwanese company. I got a lot of people on the Serval unboxing video that I did commenting about how System76 is reselling Clevo laptops, and some people felt that meant that I just got ripped off by buying this computer from System76, since System76 did not actually build this computer. This is a Clevo laptop. I paid System76 for it, therefore I got ripped off. Now here's the problem with saying that. Here's my, alright, I was going back and forth with people on a variety of topics, like the fact that System76 specifically chooses models that will work well with Linux, and they guarantee that their laptops will work well with Linux. A lot of people, though, raise the good point that, you know, you can go out and get a ThinkPad, most of the stuff on the ThinkPad's going to work. You can go out and get an HP laptop, most of the stuff on the HP laptop's going to work. And this laptop's got a fingerprint sensor that does not work. System76 does not advertise that there's a fingerprint sensor on it, but there is a fingerprint sensor on it, and it just doesn't do anything because there's no Linux drivers for it. Nevertheless, I think that voting with your wallet is important, and I'm happy to spend a couple extra dollars. It really wasn't that much more expensive than if I had gotten a laptop from somewhere else, but I'm happy to spend a couple extra dollars in order to support Linux. And if I buy from a company that is pre-installing the laptops with Linux, not only am I supporting System76, but more importantly, I'm sending a message to Lenovo and HP and Dell and all of the other companies that I'm not going to buy their products unless they support Linux. Regardless of all of that, though, because that's the route I was taking in my my discussions in the comments section of the unboxing video, where people were asking me about this. And people, you know, some people were receptive to that line of thinking. Some people didn't really agree with what I was saying there. They say that, you know, in the interest of yourself, you should just buy whatever's cheapest and whatever's going to work, and you shouldn't necessarily worry about ideological things like what the computer actually ships with. So all of that aside, here's the problem with saying System76 ripped me off because they didn't actually build this computer. Clevo's the one who built this computer. I cannot buy a laptop directly from Clevo, and if you're watching this video, chances are you cannot buy a laptop directly from Clevo. If you want a Clevo laptop, if you want a laptop made by Clevo, you have to go through a Clevo reseller. It is impossible to buy directly from them. You can go to Clevo's website, you can look at their different models of laptop. There's no buy button on their website. There's no shop section of their website. There's no buy button. You can only browse on their website. You cannot order directly from Clevo as a consumer. All that is on Clevo's website is a description of all of their products, a list of their products, a description of each one, and then a contact page for if you are a company looking to resell their products. Then they will let you contact them, and if they deem that you are worthy of reselling their products, then they'll get back to you. But as an individual, as a person, I'm not a computer shop, you know, I'm Jacob Kaufman, and yes, I own a business, but my business is not reselling laptops, my business is making videos. So as an individual, you cannot, or even as a business in other areas, you cannot purchase directly from Clevo. Clevo only sells to resellers. And if you don't want to buy from System76, but you want a Clevo laptop, you're going to have to go to another reseller like Sager or Exotic PC or AVA Direct. Those are all ones that I looked at when I was researching this laptop. And here's a little secret for you. I seriously considered getting this laptop from AVA Direct, or getting a very, very similar laptop from AVA Direct. If I had not gone with System76, I would have gotten the exact same thing from AVA Direct. A lot of people told me I should have gone with a ThinkPad, because I know that ThinkPads are really nice laptops. Obviously, I've been talking in this video about how nice ThinkPads are and how that's kind of my standard for what I'm comparing this to, and people were saying, Linux would have worked fine on a ThinkPad, you should have just gotten the ThinkPad. Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, I did not want a ThinkPad. I wanted a Clevo laptop. So, System76 could not even exist, and I still would have gotten this exact same laptop. It just wouldn't have a System76 sticker on the front. It would have an AVA Direct sticker on the front, but it would have all the same internals, or most of the same internals. Maybe the brand of RAM would be different, maybe the size of the hard drive would be different, but the motherboard would be the same, the processor would be the same, all of that would be exactly the same. I want to be clear, the fact that System76 ships Ubuntu on their machines is not why I bought from them. I didn't buy from System76 because I don't know how to put Ubuntu on a laptop from another manufacturer. I know how to put Ubuntu on any laptop, except for like Microsoft Surfaces and things, but those are basically tablets anyway. I'm not even using Ubuntu on this laptop, I'm using Arch Linux. I know how to put Linux on laptops that were not made by System76. Yes, I know how to do that. This was the laptop that I wanted anyway, and if I'm going to get it, why would I get it from Sager and have to pay for a $120 Windows 10 license if I could get it from System76 instead and not be paying any money to Microsoft at all? You know, I'm not going to... supporting Linux with your wallet by buying from System76 is one thing, because Ubuntu, you know, Canonical doesn't actually get any money when you buy a System76 laptop because Ubuntu's free. System76 is not paying Canonical for using Ubuntu. They are putting that on there for free. But if I had bought from Sager, Microsoft would actually be making a profit off of me buying their laptop. Even though the first thing that I would do when I get that laptop is install Linux on it, and I'm not using Microsoft's product anyway, so why am I paying Microsoft? So it makes absolutely no sense to go with Sager or Exotic PC. Now, AVA Direct, they sell this laptop with no operating system installed. They just sell it with a blank hard drive, and you put whatever OS you want on there. And you know what? I seriously considered going with AVA Direct. And at that point, that is when I said, I'll go with System76 because they ship with Linux, and because they are a Linux-friendly company. Like I said, I heard about System76 through the Linux Action Show, and that's a Linux podcast. I've been watching it for years now. I love the Linux Action Show, and you know what? I'm a customer of Ting mobile service, and they're a sponsor of the Linux Action Show. I'm a customer of DigitalOcean. They're a sponsor of the Linux Action Show. Every time that I go and use a sponsor of the Linux Action Show, it works out well for me. DigitalOcean is a great service. Ting, really great mobile service, way less expensive than AT&T, which is what my family had before. The Linux Action Show has, in my eyes, built themselves up a reputation for, if they've got a sponsor, they have vetted that sponsor and they know that that is a good company, that is worth my time and money to be a customer of. Like I said, I've been seeing little advertisements for System76 on the Linux Action Show for years, and that absolutely played into my decision to purchase from them. The Linux Action Show has had several episodes where they went and did interviews with the people who work at System76. It's a small company. You know, if I buy this laptop from AVA Direct, I don't know where AVA Direct's headquarters is. I don't know who works there. I don't know what their work ethic is. The people at System76, I know that if this laptop breaks down, I will be able to email someone or call someone, and I will recognize the voice, most likely, of whoever I'm talking to. And I know that they are going to help me. They're going to want to help me, because that's the kind of company they are, is they want to help people, which is why they push Linux. And in the event that they don't help me, I know exactly where their headquarters is, so I could drive myself to Colorado over the weekend and take this laptop to them and say, hey, you're not answering my calls, you need to fix this. I value that kind of locality, and I value that kind of familiarity with the people who work at a company that I'm doing business with. I personally chose to go with System76 because I know a lot about them as a company, and because I've seen reviews of their products, I've seen their products in action over at Jupiter Broadcasting. That's how I knew before I purchased this product that System76 was not just a scam rip-off company, because I had seen interviews with the actual people making these computers. Like I said, not actually manufacturing them, but assembling them at least. And you know what? There are a lot of things about System76 that I don't like. I don't like that they act like Ubuntu is the only... They don't really push Linux. They push Ubuntu is the thing. I hate every single time on Twitter or on other social media when they brag about their stupid little Ubuntu key that they've got instead of the Windows key. You know what? I'd actually rather have an Ubuntu logo on my keyboard than a Windows key, yes. Yes, I would prefer to have the Ubuntu logo on there instead of the Windows logo, but that key has nothing to do with how well the computer works. It's just a key on a keyboard. So I hate it when System76 plays that up, like you can't get a little Ubuntu sticker to put on your keyboard. I really don't like the System76, you know, like I said, they support Ubuntu. Stock Ubuntu with the Unity desktop, and they say it's a search-based operating system. And you know what? I think Unity is pretty crappy. And in my experience, search-based operating system, it is not a search-based operating system. Search in Ubuntu and stock Ubuntu with Unity sucks. If you go back and watch some of my videos that I made, like my repairing MP4 video, the video I made on how to repair broken MP4 files, or another one was the video I did on how to break iTunes DRM in Ubuntu. If you go back and just watch me doing the screencast in Ubuntu, you'll see me open up the menu, type gedit, and nothing comes up. And then I say, wow, do I not have gedit installed? And then I go into my applications section in the menu, and gedit is there. So how come when I open up the menu and search gedit doesn't show up if I've already got it installed? It doesn't make any sense. I hate Ubuntu. I hate Unity. Like I said, I'm a KDE guy. I can get behind GNOME though. I love GNOME. Unity, it annoys the crap out of me. It's marginally better than Windows 10 at this point, but I kind of see Ubuntu as the Windows of Linux, personally. So yeah, no, I don't like that System76 pushes Ubuntu specifically. Another thing I don't like is that they claim that they're doing these things like, oh, we collaborated with NVIDIA to make the graphics drivers work better. When I first got this laptop, there was a bug in it actually, where when the screen turned off for power saving, you had to Control-Alt F2 into a virtual terminal and then Control-Alt F1 back into your desktop session to get the screen to come back on. Otherwise, the screen wouldn't wake back up. That bug has since been fixed. Now, I can put this display to sleep, like so, and then I can wake it up by hitting any key on the keyboard. System76 said that they collaborated on NVIDIA to make that fix. The NVIDIA driver is completely proprietary. All that System76 did was submit a bug report and send a laptop to NVIDIA for them to test this on. And if I was System76, I wouldn't have even sent the laptop. Honestly, I would have submitted a bug report because that's all NVIDIA's fault. That's not System76's fault that that problem was there. But System76 is marketing it like, oh, we collaborated on a fix for this, when really all they did was report the problem, which plenty of users, I'm sure, reported the problem anyway. But here's the thing. At least there is a company out there advocating for Linux users. At least System76 approached NVIDIA and said, hey NVIDIA, your Linux stuff is broken. Can you fix that, please? Because we've got customers on Linux. I think that it's better to have that there, even if I don't like the way that System76 was marketing it, even if I think System76 can get a little campy at times, if I think they can get a little, oh, we're so crazy and feel good and all that, you know, I don't buy into all of System76's marketing, but the fact that there is a company out there who is advocating for Linux users, I'm happy to support them by purchasing from them. Especially when I'm getting the same product that I would have gotten if I had gotten it from anywhere else. If I had gotten it from any other Clevo reseller, would have gotten a very similar laptop, so I might as well support Linux, and I do believe that it is supporting Linux by purchasing from System76. So there you go. There's my thoughts on that. If you want to argue with me some more, do me a favor, go over to nerdonthestreet.com, make an account on our forums. I'm happy to argue with people about this more. I'm happy to go back and forth, and you know, people did bring up some good points. Linux is compatible with most hardware these days. It's not actually that hard to get Linux installed, so the fact that Linux is pre-installed on System76 machines is not actually a huge benefit. No, it is not. But the fact that System76 is a company supporting Linux, and the fact that they are getting popular enough to have a certain amount of media coverage and a certain amount of reach within the industry, I think that's overall a good thing for Linux. No matter what my distro preference is, no matter what I think about their marketing, I think that they are a good thing for Linux, and I would recommend you support them if you support Linux. So that's my thoughts on that. Aside from that, I think I've been pretty thorough in this video. This video's taken quite a while to record, actually. Took a long time to plan and quite a while to record. I'm sorry it took so long, but it's finally out there. So yeah, if you have any more questions, like I said, comment section down below, or of course, Nerd on the Street forums. Bottom line is, the System76 Serval workstation, really high performance laptop. You cannot get this kind of performance from any other laptop today. It's also pretty decently designed, so I'm happy with it. So yeah, with that, I guess that's all for today. I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.